feet, this is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout. Show me you got soul inside those new shoes, and you can rock and roll with an attitude. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it. So good, so fresh. You're the new MC, you got the remix. Keep it on repeat, just let the beat kick. Everywhere you go, you bring the roof down. Everybody knows you got your own sound. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, football fans of North Central Ohio, you are now entering the Friday Night Pigskin. So get strapped in, lay some tide and get right for big hits, top plays, and highlights. All coming your way from under the Friday Night Lights. The most exciting sounds and sights, gridiron action to serve your viewing delights. Let's go. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown! Throws it over the middle and he gets absolutely sauced. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now.
They were as close as the 5, but they were sacked into a long third down. As here's a screenplay, a lot of space here for East Knox, running all the way to the 20, to the 15, the 10, the 5, and into the end zone. Touchdown East Knox. It's the tight end, Shane Gardner.
Anytime you hear that train horn, you already know what it is and where you are at. It was a wild and wacky wet night here in week 6 of Friday Night Football. Defense was the king around most of the area. Unless it was homecoming night, then there were some others crowned as well. But we had 2 first-place teams in the WCAL, along with the OCC, taken to the brink tonight. Ashland actually needed, 4 overtimes in order to knock off Madison tonight, and then Hillsdale also survived, but they got a tough game as well. My name is Brian Skowronski, your host, of course, of the Friday Night Pigskin. When you look at some of the other area conferences, though, some first-place teams romping in the MOAC, the Firelands, and the N10. We will get to all of that here in just a moment, but our first highlight here tonight will come from the Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference. Clear Fork at home tonight, taking on a Marion Pleasant team looking for a bounce-back performance. Kind of got smacked around last week at their home place against River Valley. Let's show you how it all played out over in the Valley. And there are those Spartans. They felt like they could be an MOAC contender this season. They would have to prove it against one of the bottom feeders in the league in Clear Fork, but never an easy place to play out in the Valley. Here's Marcus Hoflich back in the lineup after being out for the last couple of weeks, but he'll get picked off his first pass attempt. Adam Scowden, he scouted it out, and Pleasant would get a field goal off of that turnover. Very next Colts drive, still first quarter. They'll put it in the hands of Jay Jackson, the burner to the outside. A nice series of moves when he gets stripped at midfield. Pleasant would take over from there. The Colts would go scoreless in the first quarter. They would get a field goal, though, in the second. Fast forward now, it's all the way in the fourth quarter. Pleasant, Owen Lowry to Jace Trachtenberg. He rumbles 12 yards, the first touchdown of the game, and it comes in the fourth. It's 10-3. The Colts have plenty of time to respawn, though. Here's Hoflich, and he finds his favorite target on the night, Devin Oswalt. Later in the drive, Porter Schmidt in from a yard out with under 4 minutes remaining. They would not end up at 10 apiece. We now take you to overtime. Spartans got the ball first. Same play they scored on earlier, only the opposite side, and it works again. 7-yard TD strike to Trachtenberg. 17-10, Spartans on top. The Colts, though, an opportunity to respond. Hoflich is going to try to make something happen here. Lots of pressure in his face. He puts it up for grabs, and it gets intercepted. Pleasant survives 17-10 on the road in overtime, picking up their 4th win of the season. I talked about defense being the name of the game pretty much all over the place. We had really wet and sloppy weather in the first half. Beautiful in the second half, though, and that's when the offenses started to pick up for Pleasant tonight. 161 total yards of offense. That's all they were able to produce. No turnovers, though, so in the wet, wild conditions, they were able to do just enough. Didn't have very many first downs. I think just 4 in the entire game. But defensively, this team checked in as the #1 in the MOAC heading into tonight in terms of yardage allowed per game. I think only 140 per contest, and they showed tonight why they're very steady. They create turnovers, and I think this is a team that, even though they've got a whole bunch of tough games coming up ahead of them, can continue to be one of the contenders in the league. And for Clear Fork, another great shot against a quality team. Martin RPI had them as the most difficult schedule so far in all of Division IV in the entire state of Ohio. So the Colts, they've been through the ringer, and they only have 1 win to show for it so far. But Hoflich back in the lineup. Balanced offense. They had equal amounts of rushing and passing yards. I thought that was a good sign for them, and they look completely different just in terms of their philosophy and the different playmakers that they had in the lineup today versus when I saw them back a couple of weeks ago and then in that win over Lexington. So I think the Colts moving forward will have a big opportunity to try to turn things around. They at least get to go on the road against the other bottom team in the MOAC next week, that being Marion Harding, who was on the road tonight over in Caledonia. That's where Joshua Banks was, and talked about defense being the name of the game in mine. Certainly was the case for you as well over at RV.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen under 250 yards of total offense and 11 total first downs. Let's roll the highlights and see how everything went down tonight. And the first clip you're going to see is going to be, as always, we seem to start every River Valley game with a Chase Ebert touchdown. He's going to find Eli Snyder for about a 12-yarder in the corner of the end zone. That would be the only score all the way up until the 4th quarter. Lots of mistakes. Here's you're going to see a great pass from Harding. They're driving down the field. Finally, that's a 4th down, though, and they turn it over. And it was just a long night. You're going to see another Harding. They tried to run a lot of jet motion. This is actually going to be the first turnover of the night. It's going to lead to a pick. And this pick, after this Chase Ebert pass, great catch on the outside, you're going to see here from Ian Axline. Ebert rolls. I'm not sure how he got rid of it, how he found the receiver in the conditions they were playing. But Hudson Pollock, the soccer player for the Vikings, is going to put it through the uprights. Ding. It's going to make it 10-0. And that's all you would need here. Pollock, they drive down the field, and I tell you what, it doesn't get much closer than that. The wind takes it right, still 10-0, and you're going to see what's eventually the game killer as Colton Lang, a name we called a bunch last week. He had 3 touchdowns receiving for the Vikings last week. He comes up with the game-sealing INT, 2 INTs for the Vikings on the night. They didn't have any turnovers, and they held Marion Harding to 60 total yards of offense and 4 first downs.
Back-to-back shutouts now for the Vikings, and you mentioned defense. Only 11 combined first downs in this game. Obviously, the conditions played a big factor in this one.
Yeah, conditions played a huge factor. Both teams wanted to air it out. They weren't able to. But River Valley's question from day one was, can this defense do it? They shut out a Pleasant team that you got to watch tonight last week at Pleasant.
Yeah.
They shut out Harding tonight. But it doesn't get any easier as they're going to go on the road next week to face the Whippets. And I'm pretty sure they won tonight as well.
They won big yet again. This MOAC chase, we've talked about the fact that we feel like there's a lot of parity within the league right now, Josh. So you've seen River Valley a couple of times with your own eyes, going up against the heavyweights, the defending champions, trying to go after the crown. Do you think River Valley has what it takes? Back-to-back shutouts, so their defense is playing well, but offensively, can they keep up with some of the juggernauts like a Braden DeVito and that Shelby offense?
I tell you what, I got to watch them play 2-3 weeks ago. It's against Bogdan Miller, the Ohio State commit, Ontario's high-powered offense, and they played with them from start to finish. Bogdan Miller had a couple long runs that kind of broke the game open, but they played a great game against Ontario, and that's the same type of offense you're going to see next week when they face the Whippets. So I think they can contend. I think they can play well. And here's the thing, they're 4-2. They're 2-1 in conference play, and that lone loss is to the Warriors.
Speaking of those Warriors, they were on the road tonight over at High C Park against a Tigers team, Galion, that before last week, we all kind of thought, hey, this is a squad that can create a lot of noise. They might be the front runner in the league. And then they kind of came back to earth a little bit. Ontario over at their place, the defending champions along with Shelby in the league. Shane Young was over there to take in this contest, and from what I've heard, man, this was the Bodpen Miller show.
Yeah, it was all Bodpen Miller. I mean, this dude is just electric. I mean, even though I was there, I want to see these highlights again. So first off, the Galion goes 3-and-out, and then Bodpen Miller is going to score on this first drive. Little read option off to the right side of the field. And next, we're going to get a nice little bomb downfield to John Mahon, Moss. I was like, oh my gosh. And then here we go. This is still the first quarter, by the way. We're going to get a Bodpen Miller. He's got to escape the pocket. He's going to scramble, and he is going to take this ball 80 yards to the house to put this game 21-0 in the first quarter. Late in the second quarter, we're going to get a nice little James Mahon 5-yard rush to make it 28-0 at half. Bodpen Miller, he's going to come out of the half, and he's going to score breaking tackles. I mean, he basically broke every tackle from the defense. And then here we go, Bodpen Miller, about 2 drives later, he's going to take this off an option for 75 yards. 2 big runs tonight from Bodpen Miller, making it 42-0. And then towards the end of the game, we're going to get a late Cooper Kilgore rushing touchdown to win the game 49-0. When I was there, I was expecting a little more out of Galion, let alone they got shut out. Because I know, Braxton Prosser, Alan Carver, Chambers, they got so many studs on their offense. I was a little surprised to see them, they only had maybe 6 or 7 first downs this entire game. They had about 1 the first half. So I was a little surprised to see them get shut out.
Bodpen Miller's playmaking ability on total display there. You see he's got a nice arm, one of the fastest dudes on the field. He's got great size as well. The fact that he touches the ball every single play, 6-0 start here for an Ontario team that coming off of a 10-win season, it looks like they're primed to maybe even be better this year, despite having to fill in a lot of pieces and parts that were lost to graduation. You saw it tonight with your own eyes. Break down in words just how good this dude is, because he's been unstoppable so far through 6 weeks.
This dude is probably the best player in all of Ohio. I mean, 5 touchdowns, 4 rushing, and a passing touchdown. I mean, he can throw the ball, he can run the ball. I mean, I know he's going to be a receiver at Ohio State, but this dude's acceleration is crazy. He's going to be toasting anybody he plays against. I mean, he's just running past the whole defense against Galion. But it was just amazing to watch, especially because that was my first game I've ever been to for Bodpen, and it was awesome to watch him.
And for Galion, that get beat last week 35-6 against Shelby, we were anticipating that Galion will put up a better fight. Tonight, 49-0. What do you make of these Tigers after that great 4-0 start? Defense was the name of the game for them. They were holding all their opponents basically to 2 scores or under, had a shutout in there as well. How do they bounce back from this? Because it's the 2 best teams in the MOAC, but just not very good showings.
Oh, Galion, they lost to Shelby. They had to play Shelby and Ontario back-to-back, and I feel like of all the teams in the MOAC, those are the 2 better teams than Galion. It's tough losses for Galion. but I think they can still have a shot at making playoffs. They'll probably end up making third in the division in the league. So I don't think the season's over for Galion. I think they can definitely have a good chance of winning out. But I think Ontario and Shelby are just two better teams than the Galion.
Yeah, just tough scheduling if you're a Galion Tigers fan. They do get Highland next week, who's 2-4, and then Pleasant and River Valley, two formidable opponents at 4-2, and then they close out with Marion Harding. So it'll be interesting to see how Galion does end up responding after taking it on the chin a couple of weeks in a row. Let's show you those MOAC standings and how things are looking right now up to this point through 6 weeks, and we've got 3 conference games under their belt. Well, it's pretty much exactly identical to what we saw last year, with Ontario and Shelby still unbeaten at this point in the season and looking like they are clearly the teams to beat within the league. They don't play each other until week 9. For the Whippets, it's River Valley next week, and for Ontario, they've got Pleasant. Shane, you've seen both of these teams, highlights of each of them, Ontario and then the Whippets. Who do you feel like has the better overall complement of talent, and what is your opinion in terms of who the favorite is in this MOAC?
I mean, I love both of these teams. I love watching DeVito and Miller. I was saying this at the game. I feel like DeVito is just a shorter Bodpin Miller. So I'm going to be excited to see who wins this game. I think just because of how good Bodpin is, I think Ontario is going to have the slight edge. But between Marcus Gumber and DeVito, DeVito, I think they have a great shot at beating Ontario. But I think it's going to be a close game.
Could you imagine Danny DeVito trying to play high school quarterback? That would actually be a movie I'd sign up for, man.
I don't know where that came from. But yeah, I definitely love these two teams. But come week 9, I mean, that's basically going to be who's going to have the division title.
That's what it all boiled down to last year. Yeah, definitely don't ask me to pick, because I can't decide either. I think they're both fantastic, and it's been really cool to watch both of them losing a lot of talent. And for Shelby as well, I mean, they graduated a lot of kids that were some record setters for them. So the fact that these two teams are in the position that they are yet again, I mean, it's a big compliment to their coaching staff and obviously the next man up mentality. It's been awesome to see. All right, awesome to see you too, Shane. Appreciate you taking it in the crazy weather tonight. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll go back to week 5 when we had beautiful weather, and let's show you who the top play and the phenom was, according to you, the people of the world.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
More than Crown, we are the real people behind Crown CDJR of Dublin. Every member of our sales team is dedicated to providing you an excellent customer experience.
Find the right vehicle for you and your lifestyle. Visit Crown Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram today. The better way to buy.
Instead of paying for some big-name spokesperson, Kasasa Checking gives that money back to you in cash rewards. In fact, you just bought me this cup of coffee. See how that works? Amazing! Free checking, cash rewards, take-back banking with Kasasa.
Welcome to Richland County's first artificial intelligence ATM. And if you car dance to the song you're listening to now, I will give you $50. See, that's something an ATM can never do.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh, we're serious.
Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope your day is a little bit better today.
Yes, thank you.
we had a ton of big-time head-to-heads in terms of the implications and what it will mean at the end of the season as we roll back the clocks to week number 5. Big performances, awesome plays. We put it in the hands of you, the people of the Galaxy, to decide what was the absolute best that you saw. And this is what we came up with for the top play of the week. Your winner from week number 5, how about Nicholas Parks to Taylor Young? Game winner chicken dinner. Get the gravy all over the mashed potatoes. Seneca East on the road at the giant that was Cary, and they knocked them off. Thanks to that play right there, their winning streak is over. But the best individual performance of the week, how do you get much better than this? Just a sophomore, the biggest game of the season, and Kel Lewis showed out in big-time fashion for the Hillsdale Falcons in a win over their rival, the Downton Bulldogs, who have kind of been their nemesis here of late. You see the numbers. 3 tutties, even took off and had a couple of nice runs in the win over the Bulldogs, but the efficiency, the yardage, it was all on display. Kel Lewis, you were worthy of being our phenom from week number 5. We got highlights from the Falcons coming up here in just a bit, but a whole lot of KMAC action going down tonight, and you already know that we're kind of the KMAC network. So what better person to break it all down than a guy nicknamed KMAC Trav, hanging out with our boy Jonathan Langdon.
You already know. You already know. Fastest 10 weeks. We're already in week number 6, sir. Next thing you know, you and I are going to be sitting down at our family's dinner tables eating Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. It's just gone so quickly, and came action. It was pretty good tonight.
Pretty sloppy, too, but it was sloppy all around North Central Ohio with the weather.
That's why it's good sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you just got to get down and dirty and run the ball. Like the Danville Blue Devils trying to bounce back from a tough one against the Northmore Golden Knights last week. They welcome in a Loudonville squad that you did see last week. They're a young squad trying to get something going. And their head coach, former coach of Danville, making his first appearance since being on the home sidelines, the first time on the away sidelines. So let's get right to this highlight. Reminiscent of week 10 of last year, the sloppy all over North Central Ohio. And the start was a great example. Loudonville going for it deep in their own end, and the pass is short. That's going to be a turnover on downs, but it would not hurt them. A couple plays later, the snap goes over Jacob Hackman's head. Loudonville recovers. They move a little bit down the field. They punt and pin Danville back. Aiden Burke breaks a nice tackle, but there's a fumble. Loudonville recovers again, and they are set up.
So many of those this week.
Right? But 3 plays later, there's even more because Dylan Wade, he has a man wide open in the end zone, but with the rain, it is a lame duck, and who else but Burke picks it off, and that would set up a 9.5-minute drive. Yes, 9.5-minute drive, capped off by Mr. Burke, rumbling in from 4 yards out.
That's good old Danville football.
Yeah, Danville football. 2-point run good, 8-0 Devils at the break. Third quarter now, and keep your eye on the motion man, because Hackman is going to find him wide open on the wheel route. That's Wesley Payne. That's 19 yards, 14-0 Danville. Is that enough for them to get the victory? Fourth quarter, Loudonville trying to get a big stop on 4th down to stay in it, but Hackman will do it himself, avoids the sack, and then will not be touched the rest of the way. 23 yards, and I promise you, he did go into the end zone. 22-0 Danville. They moved to 4-2, and they bounced back from last week's loss to get right back into that mix in the Knox Morrow Athletic Conference.
I'll tell you what, with a night like that, why would they wear gray jerseys? Because both of the teams blended into me.
So many times on the call, just Brown, you're calling the wrong number by 1 or 2, but I mean, that's high school football. I mean, when we played, I know Brian can probably get into this too. If it was a mud bowl, that was one of the funnest games to play. I played in a monsoon before, and just you come home, mom hates it because she's got to wash all those clothes, but it was the funnest atmosphere to play in.
Yeah, well, let's talk about another team that was in that game, East Knox. They made it easy tonight. They wore yellow, so not very hard when the mud got in there and all of that. But
what's brown and yellow? What's the color of brown and yellow make? Just Browner?
Orange?
Not
orange.
No.
Doo-doo.
Anyway.
I don't know. Yeah, something
Anyway,
like that.
East Knox, they took on Mount Gilead, homecoming night at Chet Looney Stadium. Let's look at the highlights. This was a game where we expected to see a lot of running out the gates, of course, with all the weather. And in turn, what we didn't but probably should have expected was that right there, fumbles. And Carson Traynor, he's been great all season, just right there. The elements got to him early, and a few punts later.
What a pass.
Yeah,
like
look at
sidearm a la Patty Mahomes.
Going deep into the playbook for a tight end screen. You see it there, 53-yard touchdown for Shane Gardner. That's a name you're going to hear a lot next week in all of our highlights.
Look at that tent in the background. I want one of those.
To the second quarter we go. Cam Vickers is the victim this time to the fumble bug. And Jax Lester scoops it up, and then you're going to see him on offense here in the ensuing drive. He drops back to pass, and he's going to throw that one kind of just from the depths behind the pole. And
in the rain,
finds
too. That's
Landon
impressive.
Clark down the sideline
Very
for a
impressive.
21-yard touchdown heave. And in a game on a weekend with lower scoring across the state of Ohio, we skip to the third quarter. Some trickery. The running back touchdown pass to Shane Gardner.
From
Blake
Elliott.
Blake Elliott, yes, the running back. So big win here for East Knox. East Knox 20, Mount Gilead nada.
Now, we always talk about Jax Lester, and we always talk about Blake Elliott, but your nominee for this week, not either of those. Who is it?
It's interesting because I didn't think we were going to have too many receivers, but we have a tight end here as our nominee, as you saw the play from Shane Gardner. He's had 3 receptions coming into week 6. He doubles his total tonight. 3 receptions, 2 of them for touchdowns. So
that's called taking
solid.
Advantage of the opportunity right there, sir.
Great opportunity, and also good job by the rest of the team shutting out Mount Gilead, and really no other candidates other than the man, the myth, legend for today, Shane Gardner.
Absolutely. So we have 4 teams we just highlighted there real quick before we get to our final highlight. Danville bouncing back, Loudonville, a young and up and coming team, and then you have Mount Gilead, physical running team, and East Knox, who seems like they're getting back to what they wanted to do before Jax Lester was out a week and a half with an injury. Out of those 4 teams, which one impressed you the most so far through 6 weeks?
Through 6 weeks, I think it's East Knox. Yeah. I think just the fact that they fell off so much when Jax was out, and then he came back, maybe not 100%, probably not 100%, but still able to lead this team to a bunch of wins. They're 3-0 in the KMAC. They're the only team out of those 4 that can say that. And it just seems like this Bulldog team, just as a program, they really kick it up a notch when KMAC play comes around. And they've got a big test next week against Northmore.
Yeah, and that's for first place. The 2 lone undefeated teams in the conference will play each other next week. We'll get to the conference standings here in a little bit after our next highlight. But Danville bouncing back. They would play East Knox in Week 10 in Devil Dog. But Loudonville themselves, young squad, played really good defense, held Danville to 8 points in that first half, had opportunities, just couldn't take advantage of them. You saw them last week. I saw them this week. Just want to wrap up on them real quick. I think they have pieces there. They're just not a complete team yet.
Yeah, I think that there are a bunch of freshmen that are on that roster that are going to grow and be a really big piece. I still think it's a couple years away for Loudonville. Just self-inflicted wounds, especially when they played Centerburg last week. First 2 plays, I've mentioned this before, first 2 plays from scrimmage offensively in their first 2 drives were both fumbles.
Yeah.
So really just self-inflicted wounds, and playing Danville well, even though it was through the weather, and Danville didn't do a great job with ball security. Able to hang with them for a little bit. Gotta like where Loudonville's going, trajectory-wise.
Yeah, and Mount Gilead, they stuck with Danville and East Knox. They're a team that I think they can still make some noise. But another team that we didn't know what they would do and has made noise, the Centerburg Trojans, they took on Cardington tonight. And, well, let's get to those highlights right now because it was the Marshall and Marshall show. Miles Marshall, 3:46 left in the first quarter, takes that in from 5 yards out. It's 6-0. But guess what? You know what's better than 1 touchdown? 2 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter.
Do you see those puddles right now in the end zone?
That's so fun
ridiculous.
running. If you can keep your footing, you can go sliding in that too. Second quarter now, Chris Marshall, brother, he only had 4 yards going into this game. Well, actually, this is Miles. Chris scored earlier, but Miles, 75-yard rushing touchdown there. He was impressive last week. He's really impressive this week. And there is Chris Marshall. He had a 3-yard rushing touchdown. Like I said, he only had 4 rushing yards throughout the season and gets it in there, right there. Third quarter now. Blaine Ball is going to go once again to Mr. Chris Marshall. Not only did he only have 4 yards going in this game rushing, he had 9 yards receiving. Well, that is from 43 yards out, It is 33-0. And if you have
another splash,
if you have Centerburg on your 33 board, you're looking pretty. Except, well, actually, you are looking pretty because on the other end of things, Wyatt Denny, one of the area's rushing leaders, is going to take the fumble, pick it up, go off to the left side, score from 3 yards out, making it 33-6, your final score. But the Centerburg Trojans, once again, impressive. They took Northmore to the brink in another game that you did. Yes, it was a touchback. That's all I'm going to say. But other than that, very impressive. They're a couple plays away from being undefeated and being in the same position as Northmore is right now. Very impressive squad. Another big win as they move on now 4-2.
I think it's very hard to look at Centerburg's roster for Coach Colella and think short term because you can really think long term with some of these guys because you've got Blaine Ball, a junior, you've got Miles Marshall, just a sophomore. Where they're going to be when they're upperclassmen in these next couple of years is going to be spectacular. They're a great team right now, but they're going to be even better coming up here soon. And then you also got the tight end,
Jackson Ballinger, a guy that just got offered from the West Virginia University. WVU offered him last week.
Also
Jackson,
took a visit to the University of Michigan.
Yes, he did. Yeah, we don't want him.
I
Good word in town. It's fun down there. Maybe you can help us turn things around. But no, Centerburg making noise this year. They still have a chance of doing things. But like you said, the long term as well. Let's take a look now at the KMAC standings. Northmore, like we said, 19-6 victors, unable to get down to Fredericktown due to small press box size. But we can tell you the Golden Knights stay undefeated. East Knox, that's another big one. We had Northmore, Danville. We thought if they could get by there, Fredericktown would be a test, and then East Knox is the big one. We will have that for you. Myself, Ken Parrott, will be there next week. But then you see East Knox, Fredericktown, Danville, Centerburg, all sitting a game back, all rooting for the Bulldogs of East Knox.
I think it's interesting because week 1, I think if you slide Danville from 3rd to 2nd, I think that's what we expected it to be.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting how that ends up. Northmore up top, East Knox looked spectacular, and then they kind of fell down when Jax went out.
Yeah.
But they're back up there, even with him not being 100%. This is interesting because I think those top 4 teams all are quite close with each other. I know Northmore took out Danville pretty big, but Danville's still a good team. Running the ball.
They are.
Just not being two-dimensional
The passing,
it's
yeah.
huge.
Well, also Mount Gilead was a question coming in here as well. But a big thing for East Knox, not anything against Cardington or Loudonville, but that was the perfect time, I guess, if he was to be injured at all to recover, was against 2 teams that you could run the ball against for. And you saw Blake Elliott put 606 yards up against those 2 squads. But the big one next week, East Knox versus Northmore. That will do it here in the KMAC corner. We got another squad. Big game. We had Northmore Danville, a big one, but we also had Hillsdale Doughton last week. Brian, did they encounter a hangover against a good Smithville squad, or did they continue to roll like Hillsdale has done?
So you're telling me this could be a trap game potentially
A rainy
for those
trap
Falcons. And going up against some Smithies, probably pretty good at creating some cages and stuff. But I can tell you, Travis, that there were no Falcons caged on this night. Let's show you the highlight. Very defensive game, and after a scoreless first quarter, there's Kel Lewis hooking up with Jake Haven, and he will rumble 40 yards in for the touchdown. The extra point, good, making the score 7-0 Hillsdale. The next touchdown wouldn't occur until the 4th quarter. Owen Sloan carries down to the 1-yard line, and on 3rd down, Sloan would rush it into the end zone. The extra point good again, 14-zip with 7:40 remaining in the game. Less than 3 minutes left, and it's Smithville's Trey Durstein connecting with Isaiah Lee for around a 40-yard touchdown, but Owen Sloan would ice the game right there. He picks up the first down in the final minute, allowing Lewis to end the game in the victory formation as the Falcons remain undefeated. They fly to 6-0. And as you start kind of looking up here on the horizon for the Falcons as they continue to fly, they've got Waynedale, 1-5 on the season. That's at their place. And then they get Northwestern also at the friendly confines over in Dromesville. So back-to-back games against 1-5 teams. Potentially you could see the Falcons getting very full in those couple of contests, feeling great about themselves, heading into the home stretch, their final away game at Rittman, and then the big one in Week 10, Norwayne, who has just been trouncing everybody. Since their Week 1 loss at St. Clairsville, where they put up a great fight, 28-21. That's a 6-0 team. That's one of the best in the entire state. Norwayne is taking care of business, scoring at least 42 points a game, and they're just destroying all of the competition right now. So it looks like we could be on a crash course for a monster mega Week 10 showdown in the WCAL. Yours truly is going to be on the call for that game, so I'm kind of rooting for these two teams to continue to just get these victories moving forward. We got a top play nominee as well from this game. Let's show you. We're going with Durstein to Lee, and even though the Falcons were the one that get the win, it's the Smithies who end up with the top play nominee. That was pretty cool. Check it out in slower motion this time. Gets the defense to bite the head and shoulders fake, and then hits them with the deep bomb, 40-yard score. That was actually said Hillsdale, but that's the Smithies. You got to give love where it's due. So congratulations to them. All right, I got one more highlight coming up for you guys. It was homecoming night over in Ashland Crestview territory, and they were taking on South Central in this one. We got a lot of scores coming up here in the highlights. Let's get them moving. Let's begin right on the 1-yard line. Why not? And that's Gavin Barker, just burrowing his way into the zone to make it 7-0. This is early on in the first quarter. And then the Cougars right back down there very soon. This is Liam Kuhn, calls his own number, 3-yard sneak. It's 13-0 in front of the student section, all draped back there behind the end zone. Later on, it's Barker now, opposite end. He dives in for the 4-yard score to make it 19-0. Cougars are running away with this thing. Second quarter still. Marcus Chasey, 2-yard touchdown. 2-point conversion is good. It's 20 zip. Liam Kuhn, 6-yard touchdown run here, his second of the night, would increase the lead. Let's cue that running clock almost. It's 33-0. Barker would actually initiate it right here as he rumbles in 14 yards. And boy, have they found something in Gavin Barker. Wasn't even really a running back at the beginning of the season. They had Raymer as the featured dude back there. All of a sudden, he's kind of emerged as the go-to guy these last couple of weeks. But gotta give some love to South Central. Aaron Haller hauling down the side of the look. It looks like he's winning. That's a long way to go. 99-yard kick return. Then Branson Hyder, a 39-yard run for the Cougars to go ahead and cap things off as they win big at home, 40-6. Barker, 5 carries, 35 yards, and he found the end zone, as you saw, 3 times. He also had a defensive interception, so that dude was absolutely awesome. So was the homecoming king, Tyson Ringler, who I'm told that they have dubbed the Kingler tonight. But maybe the coolest storyline of all, and I venture to guess this has not happened at very many places ever in the history of civilization. How about the homecoming queen scored points in this game? Shout out to Elise Belcher, the kicker for the Cougars. Not only does she get crowned as the queen tonight, then she's kicking the PATs. That's a pretty cool storyline out there. You cannot make this stuff up. Back-to-back wins now for Crestview. So I said they're probably going to make some noise in the Firelands Conference. Pretty shaky out of the gates. However, starting to get their act together. They're playing exciting football again under Steve Haverdell, who also hit a cool accolade tonight. I'm going to tell you about that coming up after a quick commercial timeout. And I hope you're ready, because we've got the Jardy Party coming up. There's all the numbers for Barker. He was cool. He's going to be on your phenom list coming up on Monday on the podcast. There's that defensive INT. Awesome stuff for him. All right, taking a break. We'll be right back with Andy Jardy.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, Start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
More than Crown, we are the real people behind Crown CDJR of Dublin. Every member of our sales team is dedicated to providing you an excellent customer experience.
Find the right vehicle for you and your lifestyle is a Crown Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram today, the better way to buy.
Instead of paying for some big-name spokesperson, Kasasa Checking gives that money back to you in cash rewards. In fact, it just bought me this cup of coffee. See how that works? Amazing! Free checking, cash rewards. Take back banking with Kasasa.
Welcome to Richland County's first artificial intelligence ATM. If you car dance to the song you're listening to now, I will give you $50. See, that's something an ATM can never do.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh, we're serious.
Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope your day is a little bit better today.
Yes, thank you.
Need I say more? Y'all know what time it is. Where else can you have a better time at 12:30 and find this much energy than with a Jardy party? Yeah, baby. Oh, man. Andy, thank you so much for finding time in your busy schedule. I know all you've been doing is just concert going here, there, everywhere. You probably had to stop at a scene on your way home tonight and still getting it done in your own living room. Dude, you are a legend, my guy.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, you know, I appreciate the kind words, but yeah, it's been a busy stretch here of having fun, enjoying life. So yeah, here we go. Great week 6. It's crazy to think that we are through September now after this week, and we're more than halfway home.
Fastest 10 weeks of the year.
Yeah, it's going by
absolutely
pretty quick, man. All right, let's jump right into your notable things that happened, and let me guess, is Marion Local still like adding numbers to their streak?
They have added another one. It is now 54 wins in a row, and they beat the number 4 ranked team in Versailles 48-0. I mean, they're not beating cupcakes all the time. They're blowing out state-ranked teams, top 5 ranked teams. Marion Local just continues to churn out, I don't even know what, like the machines they have as players down there that just continue to dominate and win football games in blowout fashion. You mentioned this a little bit, but I figured I'd give it another mention here now as well, too. But Crestview's head coach, Steve Haverdale, becomes the winningest coach in school history as he moves to 45-20 after tonight's win over South Central. He's in his 6th season now, and he passed Sean Conway, who was 44-19. So hats off to Coach Haverdale. I'm sure he wasn't thrilled with the penalties tonight, but other than that, his team looked pretty dang impressive against South Central. Galion, unfortunately, another rough week for them. Big loss to Ontario, 49-0. And now back-to-back weeks with Ontario and Shelby, they were outscored 84-6. So just when we thought that maybe Galion was sneaking into the picture here, it's been a rough 2 weeks for them. Hopefully they get back on track and realize that there's still a lot to play for this year, and they don't let these 2 losses, derail what's been a great season for them so far. You talk about circling matchups and looking ahead to things. I cannot wait for next week. Western Reserve beat St. Paul, a St. Paul team that we thought was starting to maybe figure things out after back-to-back wins. Western Reserve handled them tonight, and now this sets up a major matchup with Monroeville next week. Monroeville, by the way, scored 71 points tonight. So those two are undefeated in Firelands Conference play, and the winner of that will most likely be your Firelands Conference champion. And then all of our teams that were undefeated last week, still undefeated this week. It was very close for a few of them. We saw some teams get tested. Ashland had to go to 4 overtimes to beat Madison.
Go Arrows.
Hillsdale, coming off of an emotional win last week. How would they respond this week? And, maybe a little bit of a hangover from that game, little trap, but they found a way to win, and that's what good teams do.
Gentlemen, we're going to bring in Travis and Jonathan now on the conversation. Northmore, Shelby, Ontario, Hillsdale, Ashland, and Monroeville, all undefeated, as Mr. Jardy just laid out for you. Most impressive start, though, when you look in the resume. Not your favorite team, Travis, okay? But who do you think has the best resume so far in terms of getting those beaver pelts, if you will, to add to the trophy case?
I'd have to go with your favorite team, the Ashland Arrows. Nathan Bernhard has been phenomenal, as he should. Division I commit, and they needed him tonight. He had that rushing touchdown to defeat Madison, a scrappy Madison squad too. I'm happy to see how Madison has played, because that's the second game that they are one play away from getting a victory. They lost on a walk-off field goal to West Holmes last week. Also, Western Reserve should be in that mix as well, undefeated, but they tripped up against Winford. Winford's only win of the season so far, kind of a head scratcher. That'd be undefeated versus undefeated next week, Monroeville. But I'd say Ashland. Who's your team, Jonathan?
There's absolutely no bias in this choice, but can you hand me that helmet?
Oh, yeah. Does say Arrows on the front, doesn't it?
Go Arrows. Go Arrows. Nathan's the real deal. That's my alma mater. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Also, Ashland, number 3 in their region. Do you know who the number 1 team in the region is in Division 2? Another team we cover in Big Walnut.
Ooh.
How about that for a playoff matchup, those two teams?
Have to be pretty deep, of course, regional championship game if it were to shake out the way that it is right now.
But hey, who's your team?
Andrew?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Ontario. I think, to me, they've been the most impressive in what Miller's been able to do for them. And Travis, I'm just curious, are you taking Ashland strictly because they beat a team from West Virginia?
No, my uncle's team, no. It's just the way they've won. Was it Maple Heights they defeated 2 weeks ago? That's a very impressive win. They went to New Philadelphia, another place it's hard to play. I mean, Division II schedule, OCC schedule too, even though it's a little bit down. That's why I think the way that Ashland has played, the way they've won these games, it's just been very impressive. I'd say Shelby, number 2, the way they've just been steamrolling teams when we thought maybe they'd be a little bit down this year. But I'm going to go with the Arrows.
Yeah. And Maple Heights was supposed to be the biggest test left on Ashland's schedule, and they handled them easily.
Yeah.
And it's the air raid Arrows. And they're just throwing it all over the place.
I like that, air raid Arrows.
OCC.
They're all really fun to
not
watch.
Any fun this year.
It's tough to pick.
I think I'm going to side with Jardy on this. When you look at the resume of Ontario, wins over Lexington, Centerburg, Madison, who we think is probably better than 1 and 5. River Valley they took care of, Galion too. So they've beat some good quality teams. And if you look at the standings right now in Division 4, Region 14, they're slightly ahead of Shelby right now. Everybody trailing Sandusky Perkins, who's number 1 right there. So
and then River Valley's 5th.
A lot of loaded teams out there. Andy, let's get into some dandies, shall we?
Can we? Let's do it. I think it's time for Andy's Dandies, Week 6 top performances. You mentioned it, but I'm going to bring it up again because it's worth mentioning. But Crestview's Elise Belcher, the first homecoming queen to make an extra point in Crestview history.
Hey.
Just a really cool moment there.
3-sport athlete, all in the fall, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. I'm also going to stick in the game that I was at. Crestview's Aiden Raymer, who did all of the dirty work tonight. He had 103 yards rushing, but no touchdowns. He got them into the red zone, down by the goal line, and then they gave it over to Mr. Barker, or Kuhn would keep it. So, Aiden, I just want you to know your performance was not lost on me. 103 yards rushing tonight, and a big win for the Cougars, now back-to-back wins for them this season. Ontario's Bogpen Miller, I feel like it's low-hanging fruit to take him as an Andy's dandy, but, 5 touchdowns. The kid's just putting up unreal numbers, and it's really something fun and special to watch him play. cannot wait for when they take on Shelby. That is going to be so much fun. And I'm going way out of our area here for my final dandy of the night. How about the Valley Indians' Jalen Bender game-winning 46-yard field goal over the Northwest Mohawks.
Kickers are people
38-35.
too. For the
Bender's
brand.
Bender's the number 18 ranked kicker in America, according to his Twitter. I'll take him at his word. He made a 46-yard field goal tonight. So shout out to you, Jalen Bender. Well done.
I love that the kicking game at the high school ranks, it seems like it's just getting better. A lot of teams, they have kickers. We had a couple in my game tonight. Despite the bad weather, they kicked some field goals and thinking about doing it as well in overtime. So I feel like that's one position that's really, it's on the uprise right now, Travis. I know it makes you smile as the backup JV kid back in the day.
Hey, what was it, 2 years ago? You and I did a little kicking competition before the All-Star game. I mean, that's
not as easy as
it's not as easy as it looks. So these kids that can kick 46 yards, that was, who was it from Lucas that kicked a 50-yarder in the playoffs a couple years ago?
Aiden Color?
I think, yeah, Aiden Color. Like, for the brand. I love it.
And this was not a week that we expected field goals
rain,
to be kicked.
Wind
So
too,
much
so,
rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody call Pat
also
McAfee and tell him to get to Ohio.
Also worth mentioning, too, I saw this on Twitter. This happened in West Virginia tonight, but some team attempted a 97-yard field goal. That is correct. 97 yards. It fell short, and it was returned 40 yards for a touchdown. But I didn't know if that qualified as a dandy. I didn't know what to do with that. But I felt
What
like
could be more West Virginia
Where
than
did
that?
you see this so I can look at it and just cry?
I think Joe Idol retweeted it. I forget the specific
playing on a
account, but
mountain
I'm pretty
downhill?
sure.
Thought they had a chance?
Pretty sure he had it retweeted. But yeah, 97-yard field goal attempt. It did not go in.
All right, let's take a look at these conference standings. We already looked at the MOAC and the KMAC so far. How about the OCC, where it seems like West Holmes is playing some good football, but this is Ashland's to lose. Jonathan, tell us why you feel like the Arrows are going to get it done.
6-0.
Yep.
Throw the football really well. Not a lot of teams do that. And I don't know. They've had the bigger tests compared to West Holmes.
Yes, agree.
And I think just from the rest of the season, they can kind of coast. But you can't say that because you got West Holmes still to play. But I just like how they feel right now, and just two dimensions.
They get Mansfield Senior next week, but how about the Tigers shutout twice this year at home?
Yeah.
Including
that's
tonight.
I mean, look at Lexington right now. They're 2-0 in the conference. Can they get it together and pull something off? I mean, I don't know, but I think it's still Ashland. You called it ski before the season. I think this is Ashland's easily to lose.
By the way, I did see I saw that they officially overturned the call at the end of Lexington Mansfield Senior tonight, so it ended 19-6. They scored apparently with no time left, and they overturned what was a shutout. They now got 6 points in the loss tonight, but man, it is wild to see what has transpired there this season.
I shall update the scoreboard.
Let's take a look at the Northern 10 standings now, where the Cary Blue Devils, they're no longer the beast just hanging out on top, and everybody else is just kind of swimming in their pool. It's the Warriors of Mohawk. 5-1 too, great start for them. And then Seneca East, kind of a sneaky sleeper team out there. They've got a very exciting quarterback. They've got some seniors on that squad. Colonel Crawford can't be counted out either. This is going to be a great race. Those top four teams, all really exciting squads, boys.
Yeah, I mean, Crawford still has to play Seneca East, I believe. Cary still has Mohawk. And, it could play out. If Crawford and Cary play like we thought they would play at the beginning of the season, this may be a four-way tie coming into the final stretch of the season. Seneca East, again, the weather, everything happening, further west, it was more rainier, more windier as the night went on. Pulled off the 14-7 victory against Upper Sandusky, but like we said, you just got to survive through tonight. It doesn't matter what the score is just because of the elements, but, those top four teams, it's still in play where we could have a couple teams share and whatnot, but just it's great that we have the parity unlike the last couple of years where it's just been Colonel Crawford and Cary.
If you're any other team in the Northern 10, you can't let that 2-4 record convince you that Cary is out of this.
No,
they are
it's
still
kind of
there.
like St. Paul last year when they started 1-3, something like that, and then they went off and went on a big run to get into the playoffs. But yeah, I agree with you.
Colonel Crawford travels to Attica next week. That's a huge Week 7 showdown, and then weeks 9 and 10. Mohawks got Cary at their place, and then they travel to Seneca East to wrap things up. So if the Tigers can keep holding serve, but what a fun game that would be to close everything out.
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe we gotta think about changing around some scheduling there to get to that game, because I just love it that there's more teams than Northern 10 that have a chance after the last couple of years where it was just 1 and 2, which it's such a great conference. And yeah, shout out to the Northern 10 commissioner for getting all that set up to where it looks like it's going to play out to where we will have a tournament-like end of the season.
He just knows the future.
Knows the future. Also, I did look it up. Riverside out of Charleston, West Virginia, tried a 97-yard field goal. South Charleston, they were playing it. He caught it at the 40 and ran it back for a touchdown.
We need a West Virginia counter for next week.
Oh, Adam's already on that, but I had to look that up just because I was mind blown that they tried a 97-yard field goal and it got returned for a touchdown. Like, is that your way of? Maybe they thought it was like a kick. I don't. That's Anyway, go on, Mr.
It sounded like
Skowronski.
the
Move
game.
on.
Yeah. It sounded like that game was pretty wild from the reporter. I was looking at his tweets. I think it was not a clean game and things got out of hand. So I wonder if there was that's part of why they kicked it, was to rub it in, or I don't know. But yeah, that's something. Also, you were talking about teams that are undefeated, that are most impressive or whatever. Don't forget Monroeville beat Seneca East. So I think that's worth mentioning too.
That's true.
Seneca East, they're sitting near the top of the N10. That's just one of their 2 losses this year. So.
Speaking of them, let's take a look at the Firelands Conference, see how things are kind of shaking out there. Travis already mentioned St. Paul. They've done it a couple times here recently where it looks like they're not going to be that great of a team. Then they get into the league and they kind of turn it on and they hit the switch. They're still in the mix at 2-1. Monroeville, undefeated, speaks. And then Western Reserve. I mean, that's going to be a great matchup between those 2 schools.
Yeah, and Western Reserve knocked off St. Paul 28-7 tonight in that game. So that's a big win for Western Reserve. But like I said, Monroeville and Western Reserve matchup. And you were talking about that Seneca East win. It helped Monroeville in D7 Region 25. They're 3rd. Hillsdale 2nd. Berlin Center, Western Reserve, not the Rough Riders that we have up here, is number 1. So look at Monroeville and Hill being right there with Hillsdale as well. But St. Paul still got to play Monroeville. That could be a loss there. Say Monroeville knocks off Western Reserve, St. Paul knocks off Monroeville. Look at that. St. Paul's got themselves another conference championship. So as always, Jonathan, don't count out the Flyers.
Yeah, and also don't count out the Cougars of Crestview, because
they're
both kind of just hanging there. They're just lurking, just staying close enough. I said the same thing last week.
Got our attention on other teams.
Yeah.
The Crestview coaches are probably just cussing me out right now for not even mentioning them. But hey, don't count out the Crestview.
I got you guys.
I'll be curious to see too the box score from that St. Paul game tonight, because I think they had some guys coming back from injury soon, and so if they do get fully healthy, there's no reason they can't make some noise here at the end. But I'm curious if they were back this week or not.
St. Paul at Monroeville in Week 10. Before that, New London, Crestview, and South Central. Cougars too at Plymouth next week. They do still have Western Reserve on the calendar too, so it's going to be a pretty fun next 4 weeks, I think, to see how that one's going to shake out. Brand new to the program, though, tonight. We got the WCAL standings. And look at the Falcons sitting on top. Already mentioned that they've got that Week 10 impending showdown against Norwayne. That's over in Dromesville. Outside of those 2 teams, guys, Downton absolutely smoked Smithville a couple of weeks back. Certainly feels like the Bulldogs probably the only other squad that has a legitimate chance of trying to be a disruptor here.
And Downton still has Norwayne. I mean, they got to play each other. You never know what could happen there. If Norwayne slips up, then again, Norwayne Hillsdale could be for an outright or maybe a 3-way tie. But other than those 3 teams, I mean, after what Hillsdale was able to do, hold off Smithville tonight, it's looking like it's a 3-horse race right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen any games in the Wayne County Athletic League, but I think I already love this league because I've heard so much about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be there next week
You
to
are going
watch
to
Hillsdale play
phenomenal
Waynedale.
facility at Hillsdale.
Yeah, but the three-horse race right there, It's legit. Hillsdale, Norwayne, Dalton. Classic last week between Dalton and Hillsdale. Norwayne and Hillsdale, I believe, is a Week 10 matchup.
Brian already called dibs on calling that game.
Yep.
Dibs.
But what say you, Mr. Jardy? Is it 3 teams, or is there somebody else that may try and screw things up in the WCAL?
No, it's 3. I mean, I was thankful enough to be at that Hillsdale-Dalton game last week, and Dalton looked so good even in the loss. So they're hardly a slouch. Yeah, that's going to be... I'm excited. I think I'm with you next week, Jonathan. We'll be there for to see Hillsdale, so that should be a fun game to get back there and see how they continue to sort of tread in uncharted territory here. I mean, I'm pretty sure, what was it I looked up when we did the game, Brian? They haven't won a share of the league title since like 2014 or something like that. So they've got the target on their back now. We'll see how they play down the rest of the stretch.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago that they went into Week 10. I think it might have been against Norwayne, where they pulled off an upset a couple weeks earlier and had a chance to share if they knocked off Norwayne. They lost by like 7 or 10 points in that one. So they came close a couple years ago. That was, I think, the year that you and I had that Danville playoff game where they came back and came down to that 2-point conversion. But they had a chance, weren't able to do it. Could this be the year that they finally slip through and finally get another championship?
Could this be the night that we actually get off before 1 a.m.?
I mean, we're
We're
do we have
cooking
anything
right
else
now.
checked off?
Oh,
like,
man.
yeah.
We're sizzling.
Oh, wake me up before September ends or something like that, right, Andy? That's
Before
what we need.
your flight takes
Just for
off
you,
tomorrow,
Brian. Just
Brian.
for
Yeah,
you.
I gotta jump on a jet, boys. That leaves here.
It was
in a
raining.
few
Look at
hours,
Jardy's
so
got even a rain delay thing in there.
Bring on the rain, man. Always fun with the Jardy party. Appreciate you jumping on with us. The West Virginia report coming soon.
Monday.
You already know.
'Cause it's just me.
Look out.
I will break down, though,
It might
Monday
be
on
me.
the podcast, I'll break down Berardi, Lenardi. We'll go over all the regions for our teams as they go into Week 7 because it is time. Playoff time's right coming up.
Adam, bottom left corner, I want a West Virginia counter for that podcast. I just need it.
Ding, ding, ding.
By the way, Jardy, nice shirt.
Hey, you too. I like
Thanks.
your style. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing. I don't have any.
Ew, it's getting too sappy here. Night.
Bye, guys. Good night.
See ya.
But
Football tomorrow. Lucas Calvert. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll be on the call.